Hello, and welcome to our post-pandemic Learning Vision virtual town hall. I'm Eric Gordon, Superintendent and CEO of the Cleveland Metropolitan School District, and I'm so glad you're joining this virtual town hall today. Today we're going to focus on what's next for CMSD as we think about the 2021 school year and beyond. To just set a bit of a frame, there's been a lot of conversation in our community and across the country about then and now. Then being pre-pandemic and now being the new normal. But it's not the new normal. Over the past several years, we've invested a great deal of work in the Cleveland Plan pre-pandemic, and that is then, the pre-pandemic work. But we act as if the pandemic itself is never ending and is our new normal. And what we really need to be doing is thinking about post-pandemic and what's next. The secret is the pandemic, while it feels like forever, is really only a little over a year old. And it's what we do from here and beyond the next 1, 2, and 3 years as part of the American Recovery Plan that's really going to define the new normal, not the pandemic. CMSD has done a great deal of work over the past several years to improve academics, and we have improved. Our graduation rate's gone from 52% in 2011 to 80% in 2019. To do that work, we've defined a number of what we call anchor documents. All of these anchor documents are available on the website for you to review. These define the work of the district and how we're going to move forward and are aligned to Ohio's strategic plan, Each Child, Our Future. We are not proposing that CMSD needs to abandon all of this work of the past, but that we use these anchors to accelerate our work as we move into the future. Again, these documents are available for your review on the district website. This is a quote I've used throughout the pandemic that I think is really important for us to consider. It's from Audre Lorde, a feminist, activist, and writer in the 1970s. And she stated, "For the master's tools will never dismantle the master's house. They may allow us temporarily to beat him at his own game, but they will never enable us to bring about genuine change." And I've lifted this quote and held it up throughout the pandemic because we are at a unique opportunity point in our nation. Never before has the master's house been completely deconstructed. And the question we have now is whether we put it back the way it was or whether we actually use new tools to build something that's more fair, just, and good. It's my position that we have an opportunity to address the structural inequities in the K-12 education system, at least here in Cleveland, by building new tools that actually dismantle the master's house permanently and create a more fair, just, and good system for our kids and for our community. So in that spirit, my team and I have created a vision for learning and teaching, and I'm going to take time to unpack it and really take you through what we believe is possible for our kids and community. First, it is about equity. We do believe that we have to pursue a more fair, just, and good system. I say more fair because I recognize it will still be imperfect, but imperfection does not mean we shouldn't pursue much better. So all of this has to be in the pursuit of a more fair, just, and good system. We want each of our learners, and you'll notice here it does not say student. You won't see student or teacher in here. Every one of us should be a learner. So each of our learners, both our scholars and their educators, and in CMSD we encourage every one of us to think of ourselves as an educator, whether we're a professionally trained teacher, whether we're an educator who serves as a safety and security officer, whether we're an educator that is driving a bus, whether we're an educator working in an office like mine. Each of us should be learners, both our scholars and their educators. We need that learning to be collective. We know that in the real world, learning is a collective effort. We don't learn from experiences, we learn actually from the reflection on those experiences, talking with each other, socializing those experiences. We join book clubs because we can't wait to get to that part and say, did you get there yet? Did you see what happened? We don't join book clubs so that we can have a literal quiz at the end of each chapter. So learning is supposed to be collective, but schooling often makes it individualized. We set our classrooms up in desks and rows, and we don't create and nurture that collective environment. So we want our scholars and their educators individually and collectively engaged in their learning. And what they do needs to be rigorous. It needs to be complex. We call them academically or intellectually complex tasks. They have to be things that challenge us. They have to be things that make us use our mind, scratch our head. But while schools tend to do this well, they don't tend to usually focus on, and they have to be worth it. We call it productive struggle. I got to want to solve that problem. I have to want to huddle with my friends. I have to want to research the answers to the question. I have to want to try and fail and try again. So the task itself is not enough. The task has to be worth the struggle, worth the engagement. And I also want to point out, a lot of people here say, yeah, real world. That's one way, but real world is not the only way. I want kindergartners fantasizing. We would not have a flip phone had somebody not written Star Trek with the device that they opened up and talked into. In Star Trek itself, they were touching the screen long before the technology made that real world. Somebody dreamed it. So rigorous tasks sometimes are real world, but always should be relevant and worthy of the struggle. Once I've struggled through it, we need authentic ways to demonstrate both our learning and our work, presenting to an audience, having a juried art exhibit, performing a concert, doing a demonstration talkback with my teacher, presenting an artifact that I created to perhaps city officials, something that makes my work real. If I do this kind of demonstration of learning, I'll pass the tests. So this isn't an either or. It is about what kids are doing and adults are doing to demonstrate real learning of both academic content, did I learn the math and the science that I needed to know, and also the transferable skills. I know how to tackle a problem. I know how to work with peers in a group. I'm going to use that skill the next time I go to a problem. I've built my confidence. I've found my voice to present. Things that are not academic content measurements, but are important life skills to take forward. And the best part is it ought to be fun. It ought to be a joyful and adventurous environment. So in CMSD, we envision, in our pursuit of a more fair, just, and good system of education, that each of our scholars, both each of our scholars and their educators, will be individually and collectively engaged in academically and intellectually complex tasks that are worthy of their productive struggle, and that they will have authentic opportunities to demonstrate both their work and their learning, and that demonstration will show both their academic content and their transferable skills in a joyful and adventurous environment. And that's the work that we're trying to bring into this post-pandemic renewal. To do that, we invited some colleagues from Attuned Education Partners. Attuned is a group of practitioners who have worked in pre-K through 12 with 100+ organizations across the country. Here's just some of those organizations, including work with us in Cleveland in the past. We asked them to help us to learn more about how the community sees us actually taking this vision and turning it into a reality. So we asked them to conduct interviews and focus groups, which we've been conducting in March and April before coming to you now in May. We conducted multiple interviews and focus groups with over 400 people from across our community, probably more, but we know at least 400. Who were they? CMSD high school students, CMSD parents, people from our faith community, people from our educational partners like Pre4Cle, the Cleveland Transformation Alliance, the Higher Education Compact, our Say Yes to Cleveland education effort, and others. People from our business and foundation partners that have helped the district over the years. The leadership of our principal association, the Cleveland Council of Administrators and Supervisors, the people who have to lead the work in our schools. The leadership of the Cleveland Teachers Union, the people who do the work in our schools. Our school-based principals and assistant principals have given us feedback, and my own senior leadership team has weighed in as well. Again, over 400 people from across our community to get us to this point today. And we asked a cross-section of the community a few key questions, all of it with this vision for learning in our mind, this post-pandemic opportunity. We asked from your point of view, all of those people, and the role you play, whether you're a student, a teacher, a parent, a faith leader, in our community, we asked 4 questions. What was CMSD already doing well pre-pandemic? That 10 years worth of work. What was already working that we should pay attention to and build upon? But also, where were we furthest behind? We hadn't achieved our goals. Even without the pandemic, we were still working to be better and better. So where were we furthest behind? Where were challenges that existed pre-pandemic that COVID made worse, that we should really pay attention to? We've had a lot of conversation about lost learning. The good news is we didn't lose learning. We still know how to learn, but we did lose learning time. And COVID made that worse. So how are we going to think intentionally about that in our future? And then what might be difficult to do but worth it? This is that productive struggle for an intellectually complex challenge. What might be difficult to do but worth doing anyway? And here's what we learned. First, what possibilities might we explore? We heard clusters in 3 related themes. This notion of culture, learning, and tools. And we also heard loud and clear that we cannot focus on one of those as an individual strategy. We have to focus all 3 of those as a collective strategy. Learning, the kinds of experiences that students and adults might have in their post-pandemic learning. And students and adults showed up in both, just like in our vision. A culture that values the ways of working that might characterize post-pandemic learning. A risk-taking culture where I can try things safely, not be afraid to fail. A social emotionally supportive culture where I know how to work together with my peers. A culturally competent culture representing the 86% of our community who are people of color and all of the other dimensions that we bring as part of our diversity and things of that nature. And then finally, what are the tools, the way that people, time, technology, and place might power our learning? That learning doesn't just equate to schooling. School is a place where learning can occur, and so many other places where learning can occur. We learned you can learn from home, on a device. How do we leverage some of those tools? We got 4 types of feedback that clearly emerged in these themes. And I want to share them with you so that as you look at this data yourself, you'll have a clear sense of how to organize it. There were places where there was clear consensus. Everybody across the group, or nearly everybody across the group, was aligned on the same thing. We all believe in the importance of cultural competence, for example. There were specific perspectives where a particular group saw it one way and other groups may have seen it another. Perhaps school principals and school leaders had a particular point of view that might be different from teachers, as an example. We saw areas that were clear strengths or clear challenges, that the community was very clear there was a strength that could be leveraged, or that there were challenges that have to be solved in order to empower this work. And there are some tensions or trade-offs. We're going to have to make some tough decisions. We could do this, but it has implications over here. Which of these is worth the trade-off to empower the vision? Finally, we learned that there's a foundation and 4 priorities. The foundation, and good news again, goes right back to the foundation of our vision. We must lead all of this from a principled point of view around equity and inclusion for every decision we make. The 4 emerging priorities: a clear sense of continuing to move toward what's called competency-based education. Much more personalized, lots more inquiry, lots more focus on mastery and demonstrating what I've learned, less focused on that forced march through school, grabbing grades and credits without fully mastering the content, without being curious and interested in the content. The second, we called it school without walls, figuring out the way we use time, place, technology, and talent so that learning is anywhere, anytime. And the pandemic taught us some about that. The third is this whole human learning, that we have to attend to that culture. We have to attend to how staff and students experience social, emotional, and cultural wellness in the organization. And then finally, that our students have personalized learning pathways that are equitable and available to everyone, student-centered, and lead to career development so that when I leave school, I have a pathway to a wage-sustaining career and promotion, benefits, home ownership, the things that our kids and families all deserve and should aspire to. These emerging themes, the first 2 are really specific to what educators should do, the school district should do, with the support of the community. The other 2 are what a community's ecosystem should do with the support of the schools. Here you'll see things like our Pre-for-CLE effort for early childhood education, our Say Yes to Education effort to wrap services and supports around our students and their families from preschool all the way through college. Here, the personalized learning, you'll see our Higher Education Compact, where we work with 18 of the largest colleges and universities that serve our students to make sure that they are ensuring our students have access to these learning pathways. And more work we're about to launch around career placement along the way as well. But before we go any further, we need your input. On our website, you'll see all of the detailed information collected from those 400 participants. And we invite you to explore that content further. There will be a short 4-minute video describing our vision and the task before us and welcoming you into the work. There will be the anchor documents that I described earlier so that you can see what our learning vision is, what our profile of a graduate is, what we dream for our students when they leave us. There will be the complete findings of the interviews and focus groups, a very large, in-depth document that walks you through those themes, those priorities, and categorizes, was it consensus, was it a trade-off, was it a tension, so that you know how to tackle the content. And there's going to be feedback directly from students about what they believe could be, so that we hear the voice of our high school students in particular, who actually took on this same task as a challenge of their own learning. You'll also be able to provide your feedback on an online feedback form that will be available through May 31st. Give us your feedback and your input. Not only learn about what we've learned so far, but contribute to it. And please, help share this with others. Use your social networks to spread the word so that all of Cleveland's voice is heard as we continue on this journey. What's next? After you participate in our town hall, on June 11th and 12th, the Board of Education will be having a leadership retreat where we're going to review and discuss all of the feedback I'm sharing with you today, and the feedback that we will get from you along the way. We will use that to finalize a first draft of our post-pandemic renewal plan, which we'll be publishing in early July. This will outline the priorities for the district for the next 1 to 3 years. 1 to 3 years is the window of the American Recovery Plan. But also looking beyond that, when the recovery plan is done and we're through the pandemic and its recovery, what is our renewal and our vision for the long term as well? Obviously, we won't be able to have that plan ready for next fall, but we will use everything we're learning here to frame fall, like we've done with summer and our CMSD Summer Learning Experience, which we've tried to empower through that vision as we continue to shape this plan. In mid-July to mid-August, I'll be back with another town hall, either virtually or in public, depending on the health conditions, where I'll show you where we are and get more feedback from you. That will allow us to refine for our first semester before we begin in September, and our year 1 plans, and continue to revise and grow plans for years 2 and 3. And that will include also the American Rescue Plan priorities that are being released from the U.S. Department of Education now. We will come back with a final plan, and we left that date open because we need to know what we learn and adjust and plan for it. So we're not at a race to get this done by a checkmark date, we're at a race to get this done right. So we'll let you know how we're going to unfold it as we continue to learn from you. There are a number of resources available to you, including this virtual town hall. On the CMSD website, you'll find a video recorded version of this town hall that you can watch at your time and your pace. You'll see a printed version of the presentation that I've made you today that you can download or print to keep with you if you'd like. You'll see those anchor documents, the tools we use to make sure that we always stay academically focused. And you'll see a short 4-minute video describing the learning vision itself and inviting you to participate, inviting you to share it with others and encourage their participation as well. Finally, there's a document with all of the feedback, a very complex document, again, broken down describing the 3 themes, the 4 priorities, the foundation itself, and what kind of feedback it was. There'll be an electronic form for you to provide your own feedback right online. Just type it in the box, hit submit, and we'll get your feedback included as well. All of it on clevelandmetroschools.org on the front page, and you'll be able to click the virtual town hall. So I want to thank you again for participating in our post-pandemic virtual learning town hall for our learning vision. I look forward to your feedback. Thank you.